Is it on? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. There you go. Very good. Okay. Now bow our heads for prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this possibility this afternoon of considering for a few minutes of our physical body. Lord, we learned earlier today how important the mental attitude is toward life. Now we want to consider how we can do better physically. We ask that you'll bless us. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, as far as time, we're going to play this by ear, I guess. Normally, in these programs, I go from 2 to 5. It's 3 hours. We have a 15-minute break. So we're going to adjust it a little bit. Not sure what time we're supposed to finish by, but I think it's probably not. Okay. It sounded like 2 hours for me, and now if I'm not counting music or something, okay? Before we begin, just in review, now the folder you've got has all the information that we're covering, okay? Matter of fact, if you want to look at your folder, on the right-hand side, the first thing you see there is the picture of the organs of the immune system. We realized during the COVID era how important our physical body is as far as health is concerned. The condition of the lungs, folks, has been a huge factor. We know that. I'll go into more of that a little bit later. I don't have time, because of the time, to spend much on that. The organs are listed there, but I will say this. If one organ closes down or is not working properly, it puts, obviously, pressure on the other organs. And so the way God has made our body is for all the various organs to work in a healthy state. In the beginning, He created these things perfect. Of course, sin changed all that. As I said earlier this morning in the little advertisement I did, the body is designed with a defensive mechanism. The white blood cells, the lymphatic system, just a long list of things you'll see there in the folder. And what's interesting to me, and I mentioned this morning, is the white blood cells and the red blood cells are actually formed in the bone marrow, which is inside the bones. Who would have thunk that? You know, who would have thought that? Well, God did, because He knew how important the red blood cells carries our oxygen so we can live. The white blood cells, main factor in fighting the enemies, which are, as I said, germs, viruses, and bacteria. And so our body is designed to fight it. But of course, we all know this, through the years that a certain flu would come out. You know, through the years we've had a flu, and people take a shot or something. The next year, another version comes out. So we understand the system. So we want to keep it healthy. And as I said earlier, the reason I start out with exercise, I've spent my whole life in that field. We tend to put a lot of emphasis on diet only. We tend to bring in churches, we'll bring in a speaker, and they'll speak all weekend on diet. And we say a few things about exercise, about walking. So I'm going to show you the research here on these, okay? She's going to help us as far as... we need a microphone for her. That's my fault. I forgot to. For her. What? Oh. While she's doing that, I'll just kind of what we're going to do here on the schedule is this in this hour. Then there will be a break. Normally there's a break. Now there may be music. I'm not sure. Books and magazines we do not give away until the end. Now, if there is a break and you want to look, that's fine. The things on this end are on health. Things on this end are spiritual, because I'm here to help personal ministry. So, okay. Okay, what we're going to do is start off. This is called 8 Secrets to Better Health. And so we can look at the first slide. The first slide, of course, is 3 John 2. And she's going to read for us on these. What's up there?
It says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers.
Yeah, we tend to think of that as spiritual health, but God wants both. That's why I said this morning about John 10:10, he wants us to have a more abundant life. He didn't say, I hope you get along. I want it to be rich and plenteous, and that's something deep down we all want, but sometimes, like I said this morning, would be something wrong if I said, I just love being sick. I love being confused. I love, all these things. So the next slide is going to show us a summary of the 8 principles of health as far as the Bible is concerned.
Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies.
Now, in the denomination, there are a number of organizations that have acronyms. North American Division, I've served on their health committee for over 20 years. They have one that's called Celebrations. There's Creation Health. New Start I use, although I'm not connected with New Start in any way. It's just simply the letters, though, that summarize what you just read. So as on the right-hand side of your sheet, I believe it is, by the way, the folder, I've got one here, I should. This is the part that I'm telling you folks, all the information is in there, okay? Before we get into that, let me just quickly summarize some of those things, starting with water. All our life, we've heard how many glasses of water do we need a day? 8. Well, okay. So I weigh 200 and you weigh 100. Does that mean we need the same amount of well water? That doesn't even make sense, does it? It's just, depends on who you're talking to. I know the World Health Organization, negatively or positively, they suggest half your body weight in water. The point is we are not getting enough water. Research shows 37% of Americans are getting close to the amount of water. Matter of fact, about 75%, 72 to 75% of Americans are dehydrated at any one point. And then they eat more, and that makes it even worse. We're all creatures of habit, let's face it. And maybe we'll go down to our water fountain, we'll take a few sips of water. I don't know about you, I just have a plan where different sequences during the day, I swallow, and I count my swallows, believe it or not. And at the conference office, we have a water thing, so if I'm there getting water, somebody may come along and say 10, 30, 40, trying to confuse me, because they know I'm counting to 15 or 16 or 17 swallows. Point is, we're all creatures of habit, so if you're not drinking enough water, think about how you can do it. I don't have time to go into that. The back of your folder, again, has some information on each one of these things. Sunshine. We know the sunshine, one of the big things is vitamin D. We know that we also are not getting enough vitamin D, about 75% of the Americans, again. So you've got to figure that out in regards to what you're eating and everything else. And something else that's really important is, and we'll talk about this when I'm talking about type 2 diabetes in a few minutes, that the fact that as you consider what God has created to help us, I'll show you the importance of vitamin D in that, okay? Air, again, we're talking about the vitamin D situation, but we're also talking about our pulmonary system, our lungs. I could do a test, I can't do it here today. It's called the pulmonary rate index, which actually You just take a deep breath into the simple system, and it shows you the volume of your potential volume of your pulmonary system. The average score under the PRI, that's pulmonary rate index, is for men 350, women 330. In my case, where I've done a lot of activity and things, mine's been anywhere between 600 and 900, which is 3, 4, or 5 times more possibilities than the average person. It can be deceptive. I was in one church where we did the test, and the lady's was 330, it was right on the target. Her husband's was like 250 or 230. And I asked him what he did. He talked about he sat in an office most of the time. There is, folks, again, when you hear me talk about aerobic exercise, it will strengthen your lungs and your pulmonary system as you take deep breathing, this type of thing. So sleep is another factor that's in this. About 20 years ago, I brought Dr. Iacono in. He had done more brain surgeries than, he had reversed over 1,000 brain surgeries at Loma Linda. He had done reversed more Parkinson's than anybody. And he did research, but the bad thing was he wasn't, as smart as he wasn't real organized. And when he was there, I had him for camp meeting, and he said he had his own airplane he would fly, and he said, sometimes, EW, I just put it on autopilot and go to sleep while I'm flying. Sure enough, he ended up flying inside of a mountain and it killed himself. And he did not finish the research. His wife just couldn't pull all the pieces together, so that's very little research. Melatonin, he told me, he says it is made only in a completely dark room. He did research, both in prison where the light's on all the time versus other situations. He said melatonin is made only in a dark room. Even if a television or a computer is plugged in, it still diffuses the light. Serotonin is made in daytime, and serotonin is necessary from light. And so it's very interesting how God created that, because, folks, the serotonin is important in order to make the melatonin also. It's interesting how it interrelates. And at that point, I already had eye problems, but he said Stargardt is what I have, and the government's not saying there's still no cure for Stargardt, but he said I would suggest you try it. And so the melatonin, he said, based on his research, was to get 30 milligrams a night, but it takes a while to get there. I had to start with 3, 5, 15, finally to get up to that point. But it's just a suggestion. You have to check with your doctor, whatever, as far as any recent research, which I haven't seen on that. So some of those things we can see are important in keeping our body healthy. Okay, if you don't mind, let's go to the first slide and just go ahead to the next picture. I guess I can't see it. Yeah, one more. Okay, this first slide is based on research. We're talking about heart disease first. Why? As I said this morning, it's our #1 killer. 1 out of 4 deaths, heart disease. 750,000 a year, every 30 seconds, whatever words you want to say. And we know we can do better. And I appreciated what he covered this morning, because we all know the mental effect. As I was talking to my friend here, I'm a firm believer in positive thinking. I don't know, I'm not very smart, but I know there's negative and positive electrons. And so as he covered this morning from a spiritual standpoint, positive thinking, all this is a factor. But let's take a look. I want you to notice that we're going to talk first about aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise is exercise that involves oxygen, more oxygen, okay? So what's the results? It's a 4-to-1 ratio, as you can see up there. If there's very little, can you see it enough to read the breakdown? Yeah.
Active is 5.9.
Wait a minute, we got the wrong picture. We need to back up one. Did we go too far? Yeah, okay. Right there.
So I read, in all men, peak aerobic capacity was a better predictor of mortality than high blood pressure, smoking, diabetes, cholesterol levels, abnormal ECGs, history of heart disease.
I'm going to show you another test in a minute to back that up, but just notice the two extremes. I only brought one today because of the magazines, but this is available through the ABC. This is some of the newest research in vibrant life. We know a lot more than we used to know about this. But the research shows now that, and you can see the different variances there as far as possibility of having a heart attack or not having a heart attack, okay, or some of the other diseases. And what it shows is, most of the research shows that you've got about a 50, give or take a little bit, like 46% chance or double your chance not to have a heart attack if you have regular aerobic exercise, which is at least 3 days a week, at least 30 minutes or so, 150 minutes a week is basically what all the research shows of aerobic exercise. Now, in a few moments, we'll look at that a little bit more. At this point, we're talking about the necessity, 150 minutes broken down for 5 days out of 7. Then you've got a double chance to not have a heart attack if you say it that way. And then they add 5% on that research if you do it with a little bit of vigor, okay? Now, what do I mean by vigor? Well, I can go walk like this every day, and I'm going to show you in a moment the variance in walking. Or I can walk where I'm really putting something into it. And that's just when you say vigor, that's what it's talking about, okay? Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is talking about the percentage of men dying today for non-accidental deaths. 12.6 men will die with non-accidental deaths. But notice the research showed, again, with a regular aerobic exercise, we're going to look at the two outside numbers, ignore the one in the middle. Notice that it's back to that double or 2-to-1 ratio. Do you see it? Same thing, same research. I mean, it's not something they just pull out of the air. There's a reason for it. Because our body, the heart, the lungs, the muscles, everything was made by God as a fine oiled machine, if you want to say it that way. And sin has changed that, but it doesn't mean we have to accept it. I say this all the time. I'm 82, I'll be 83 here in a couple of weeks. And I say, show me the book. Show me the research that says I just have to accept letting my muscles atrophy. Why? Where does it say that? It will happen if I don't do something about it. That's why I do 300 sit-ups a week or 150 push-ups, and why I lift weights. Because I don't have to accept it. Are you following me? If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm going to show you how to do it, matter of fact, in a few minutes. But anyway, women, let's go to the next picture. Even more interesting, ladies. Please notice that the rate today for non-accidental deaths, 9 out of 100 women, please notice, with a regular aerobic program, you could almost cut out heart attacks. It's all the way down to 2.3. Imagine 2.3 out of 100 compared to 20 or 30 out of 100. If you go back to all those percentages. So I'm just getting your attention. Let's look at the next research. This was very interesting. It's very interesting. This was 42,000, I believe, men that were tested, and I think 6,000 women. Good sized test. I think it was 35,006, so it added up to about 42,000. Good sized test. Please notice what is the number one factor from this test. It was done there in Baltimore, Maryland. What's the one on the left? Smoking? Is it smoking? No. What does it say? Low fitness. They even said that if a person smoked and exercised, they were better off than somebody that didn't. I usually say it this way, that a Seventh-day, if a person smokes and they do regular aerobic exercise, they're better off than a good Seventh-day Adventist that does not smoke but does not exercise. Now, they didn't say that part. They said the numbers. I mean, it just shows out of these good large number of people how important it is for your body to move, okay? And you can see all the other lists. Matter of fact, they said if there was any combination from that list, diabetes, smoking, or any of those combinations, you were still better off if you have a regular aerobic program and they don't have that when they're smoking and and the other things. All I can tell you is what the tests show, and this newest magazine, same research. And you heard, was anybody not here this morning that I'm speaking to now? Well, some of you heard what I said, that your body pumps 60,000 miles of blood a day in 24 hours from one Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, back and forth. And if you don't believe me, we're going to check your pulse here in a few minutes. Let's just say your pulse is 100, okay? You start multiplying 100 times in 1 minute, that's 60 seconds, plus, an hour, and then for the day. You'll see how quickly it all adds up. Okay, let's go to the next factor. Okay, I thought that's one we just should have. Yeah, right here. This one we're a little bit more sensitive on. It's talking about your waist girth. And it's very interesting whether it be a male or female. We're first looking at a male. It says if your waist is 39 inches compared to 35 inches, it increases a double chance for a heart attack. Now, there are a lot of other factors, but that alone doubles the factor, according to this research. Now, next slide. This one is ladies, and it's triple. I mean, it's 4 inches again. This time from 37 to 33 inches, I think. Yeah, 4 inches, 37 to 33 inches. Is that right? Same thing, except ladies, it's a triple factor instead of double. It's just a bigger factor with females. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Obviously, this is important, so what we're going to do is talk about the fact of getting us into a regular program of movement. Now, open your folders, if you don't mind, and let's go to the right-hand side, and it'll be under the one there that we had. You might want to move that one in the pink sheet. Just move it. Actually, what I'm going to look at is the second one. I went too far. It's got a blue strip on it. Blue strip. Yeah, can you read what it says on there? Can you hear her on the microphone? Huh? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. It doesn't appear to be on. There comes one. Okay. It's the one with the blue strip. He's just going to read the title to start with at the front, on the front.
It's In Step for Life, Georgia Cumberland Conference Exercise Plan.
Okay, now look at the back. And there's a number of activities on here. We're going to focus only on walking and gardening, okay? You can choose any of these things. I hope you're doing something in life. So let's take walking. Now, we're going to use the two extreme scores, okay? The easy and the vigorous. Ignore the one in the middle, okay? If you walk at 3 miles an hour, and this would be about like this right here, a 3 mile an hour pace would be just about like this, an easy pace, which probably the majority of people would do. It'll take you 23 minutes to walk a mile, okay? Now, the stride is a factor. I just did research again this week on strides, because when I'm walking and I walk really fast, I'm actually walking with a 3-foot stride. And it really makes a difference in how many miles I'm going to cover when I walk. So if you're walking like this, that's good that you're walking, but it's going to take you a little bit longer. I remember when I was in college, this guy and I were in Florida and walking on the beach, and he was about this tall, and he said, we draw a line in the sand, and went a certain, he said, I had to take 123 more steps than you did in that distance. Whatever that means, I don't know what it translates to, but okay, look at this. The vigorous, what is the time there for a mile? Look at the vigorous under walking, out on the right.
15
minutes. Now it fits into the category that I was just talking about. That's where you're really moving, okay? And you can do it, make it look smooth, or you can whatever you want to look, but at least you're moving. Okay. Now compare that to gardening. Look at the bottom. You may not do any gardening, which I think you can compare to equal or equate to that 23-minute mile. Okay?
Yes.
Does anybody in here do a garden or any kind of form of gardening? Okay. Let's just say that you're comparing your garden time to my walking time. Okay, if I'm walking 3 miles an hour, that's 23 minutes. Notice what it says about the gardener. How long is it going to take?
60.
60 seconds. Okay? To equate the 15-minute mile, it's going to be cut in half. You'd have to work in 30 seconds. So you're out in the garden, okay, hello? You're out in the garden with a hoe, and here's the easy pace. You don't stop and talk about politics or stop and talk about sports or something else. It's a steady 1 hour pace. Are you following me? Steady pace. Can't go into this stuff and stop and talk. Well, hit a few licks and stop. Okay. Now, go to the 15-minute mile. It means you're working a little bit harder. Okay? You understand? Now, there's a lot of other things there to compare. I don't have time to go into all that. All I'm doing is getting your attention to the importance of aerobic exercise. I've already showed you the test, and I'm going to talk to you now in just a moment about what we can do about it. Now, I got to say this. If you're over 40, and by the way, I had a stand, my charts somewhere. Are they here, charts? I brought them in, I thought. It's in a box. I may have left it outside the door.
We'll go check.
If you're over 40, starting any kind of regular aerobic program and you're not doing anything, please check with your doctor. It can happen. I had a cousin die of a heart attack at 33. Now, there can be a lot of other factors. We know that. But we just saw the big factors a few moments ago. Okay. So, and I have to say this because sometimes we're in a meeting like this, we're halfway listening, you know, and they say, what did he say? I don't know. Sounds like he said, okay, you go ahead and start. No. My sister-in-law died with a heart attack. Didn't die. She did die. They had to bring her back alive 4 times. She was a nurse in New Mexico, and so she came to live with us, and so I was trying to help her a little bit, just like walk from here to the piano and back, so you know that was fine. I checked her pulse before we started, and we have a doctor at Southern College. I don't know if any of you have ever been tested by him, but he and I are in the same boat on this. Go to Southern College and it's tested. He'll take you around the track about 3 minutes and 30 seconds to find your resting pulse rate first, and then go and walk for 3 minutes plus and check your pulse again. What we're looking for is a resting pulse rate of getting a plan in place. You don't just jump from here to there. I came in one day and she was really tired. And I said, what are you doing? What's wrong? She said, well, I felt good. So I've just been walking a lot back and forth. I said, I specifically told you not to do that. Please understand that, okay? Now, what we're going to do, if one of you can time for 30 seconds, I'm going to let everybody we're going to check your pulse, okay? You use your fingers on your wrist, inside your neck, inside your arm. I'm not sure where you want to do it, but I just need you to find your pulse, and we'll give you a second to see if you can find it. And then I'm going to just say, ready, start. And when you start, well, no, I'm going to let her do that because she's got the 30-second watch here. And don't count out loud, but let's make sure everybody's found you. Folks, we need this because, you know, you can come in and listen and say, well, that was good, okay, but I'm here to try to help you because I have seen people make big changes, okay? And so, anybody not found your pulse yet? Okay. Everybody's alive in here, okay? Okay, just tell them when you want to as they say start and go, whatever.
Start. Done.
They stop. Okay, stop. Okay, double that score in your mind. If it's 35, it'd be 70. If it's 40, it'd be 80. If it's 20, it'd be 40. Okay. Resting pulse rate, there can be a number of factors, whether it's high or low. The fact that you just ate, it could be increased some. If you're didn't want to be here, and you came, you're a little bit upset, maybe it's got, whatever. But here's what we want to do, folks, is just find a simple plan of where you start, okay? The big thing is to start out slowly. I know what some people do. They say, well, I'm going to start walking. I'm going to walk 2 miles. And they about fall over after 2 miles. And they say, I'll never do that again. When you get through, you ought to say, I feel great, okay? I mean, for example, I have a 20-minute workout where I don't, you can criticize if you want to, but I actually do punching on a punching bag, and I do kicks on the punching bag, and I do all this kind of stuff. I get on a ski machine, and I do that without resting in between all these things. When I get through, I could feel bad, but I feel great now. I feel great. That's how you want to be. How many of us like to feel that way after you exercise? Well, you can do it. Start out simple. Okay, now, having said that, you'll come up and help me here. For those that don't know it, I'm legally blind, so I know you're here, but that's about all I can see. Okay, if you can, we'll start with 20 years of age. Now, this is based on a lot of research, okay? It explains that all down here, all right? But what we're talking about is the training zone. This is a level you never wanted to get to, especially if you're not in good condition. I mean, that's where you could die with a heart attack. So we're going to start with 20, and this will show you the training zone. Now, I'm not going to recommend this, and I'll tell you why, but I'm showing you how research shows on this. 20, just if you don't mind, read the two extremes.
Yes, 20 is 140 to
140?
20.
Oh,
140
yeah,
to 170.
okay, that's my fault. Okay, 30 years of age.
133 to 162.
You see it's coming down with your age. 40.
126 to 153.
50.
119 to 145.
60.
112 to 136.
70.
105 to 128.
And 80.
97 to 119.
Okay, now, the doctor there at Southern, anybody ever been tested by him on your, I mean, it's not just students. I mean, he's kind of retired, but I saw him at camp meeting and he was offering. What I have to say in meetings like this is only get your training pulse rate up to 10 or 20 heartbeats. That's not much. Why do I say that? Because again, somebody's halfway asleep in here and they say, I think they said I could get mine up to 150. I don't want anybody to die. So what we're talking about is to find a level place, a track somewhere around in town or wherever you can do it if it's level, and walk for about 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And I would start out with just a leisurely walk, just a leisure walk. And then after you get through, check your pulse rate. So if your resting pulse rate, average for men is 73, women 80. So let's just say that it's 100. Okay, that's just up by 20, or 27 if it's a man. Okay. Your breathing will tell you where you are. I mean, if you walk around this parking lot one time and you come in, well, your body is reacting. They're saying, hey, I need more oxygen. Speed up that heart. What's amazing is the brain doesn't even have to think about it. I mean, it doesn't say, brain, speed up my heart. It's just you think of it, and that's how God's made it. So just start out very safe. 20. I recommend no more than that to start with if you don't do any regular program. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, you work every day and you walk here and there. Well, you can figure out how far you're walking. Nowadays, your cell phone will tell you where you're walking and all kind of different things. Find out, recommendation is still 10,000 steps, and we understand that went back and forth as far. That will vary again according to your stride, as I said earlier. But what I do at the conference office, I get there about 7:15 in the morning. If you've been there, you know where it is. It's parallel to the freeway. I just go and walk for about, and if I go down at the end, it's Y-shaped. Go one way, and then you go down the other way, and down there and back, it's like a mile. And then later in the day, I do it a couple more times, and you can be surprised how quickly you can total up the time, okay? So, there's something else that's interesting. And it's called Have anybody ever heard of interval training? Well, I'm from the old school because I was a coach back in public school way back in the 1960s and different sports and all kind of things. And so I had been into heavy stuff all my life as far as sports, but I'd never been into regular long distance training like we're talking about. And so, but I was running for a few half marathons, and conference sponsored there in Chattanooga. So I would go and run hard as I could. I mean, I would train hard, running long distances. And one of my sons said, "Dad, did you not know that interval training actually works? Interval means you're breaking up the speed levels." So I went to doing that, and I found out it was easier. It was easier to get in shape because what I would do, I would go and sprint 100 yards, and then I would come back either walking or jog slowly. It's like a give, take, and it really does work. Now the other one, I have a hard time with the other one. I mean, interval's one thing, but the other one is that you can break it up by times, like 10 minutes now, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I know it works. I just have a hard time saying that, but it does. 10 minutes this morning, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't care what you do. You've got to do something, folks, to do that. Now, that's about all I'm going to say about it, is the fact that anything we're talking about this happening, it's got to be a habit. We are creatures of habit. And think about it. Think about it when you're breathing, when you're walking. By the way, it needs to be regular breathing. Don't be going and gasping for air, okay? I do know how this works because I've been doing this a long time. The females in our church seem to be in better condition than our males. I haven't done scientific research on that, but I'll give you an example. I was in one big church, we had 100 women there, 5 men, that's all that came. I can't see the balance here today, maybe y'all got better balance. But sometimes, I mean, I know this, if the women can't go out here and walk somewhere by themselves as easily maybe as the men can, it's just dangerous. We know what happened down in Athens. And my point is, if you two ladies are walking, I know what can happen. You're doing a lot of talking while you're walking. I mean, I said that wrong. I don't know that for a fact. Don't hit me. There could be some talking because that's a nice thing to do. Let's just talk as we walk. That's okay if you're into the ritual and you know what you're doing. We're trying to get your heart in good shape, so make sure that you're focusing on that. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, minimize your arm motion. If you're not in very good shape, don't go out there using your arms like this. You're just adding to the problem. It would be easier to simply move your elbows something like this. Everybody in this room knows how to walk. We don't walk like this. We stay in rhythm. So you can just maybe slide your arms. That will minimize. Does that make sense? That'll minimize the energy factor. Okay? All right. The next thing to do is set a goal. On the back of your folder, on the right-hand side, is a sheet. If I can get to it real quick. What does that say on there?
Are you looking for wellness goals?
What?
The first step in spiritual preparedness.
Yeah, spiritual preparation, but you can use this for exercise. On the back side, it's look at your schedule. I mean, stop and think about it. I have a daughter that goes to work sometimes at 6 o'clock and gets home maybe at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And if you've got a little child you got to take care of, or you've got to get your husband, a supper or whatever. And so when are you going to work? When are you going to do this regular thing? I don't have an answer for that. You're going to have to figure that out. Whether it's by the intermittent method or intermediate method, whatever method it is, you're going to have to figure it out, folks. And I'm going to come back to spiritual. I wasn't speaking this morning, but I'll tell you, we know that we need faith, don't we? Romans 10:17 says, faith cometh by what? Hearing. Faith cometh by hearing. Hearing by what? Word of God. Okay, you want to strengthen your faith? Well, what does that say? Go into God's Word. You've got to go to God's Word to find out and to grow in faith. two other words before that. Knowledge. We all know, I think, that Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We've got to know what we believe, not what somebody tells me. Wisdom. Wisdom is defined as clearly understanding the scriptures or the truth. What is the text on that? James 1:5. It says, if any man lacks wisdom, it says, ask of God and he will give it to us liberally. So those two things precede the faith. So where are we in studying God's Word? Joel Kidder's study, put in a book called The Big Four at Andrews University, showed that Seventh-day Adventists who go to church every Sabbath, 37% said they study the Bible once a day, 43% once a week. That adds up to 1 in 5, not at all, or another way to say it, based on research across North America today, 63% study the Bible once a week or not at all. You tell me how strong we're going to be if we eat one meal a week. So, folks, I have to throw that out there. I don't know what you're going to do, but I know this, that when I get up in the morning and I pray to God to guide me and direct me today, that I'm giving Him my will. And I tell it this way, because I've got some quotes that I could share with you, but we know that Paul wrote a letter to Timothy and said many people give up following the truth. And he goes on to later talk about, having an armor to protect us against Satan. So I know this. So Satan says, okay, the demon is assigned to EW. What you got planned for EW tomorrow? Oh, while he's asleep tonight, I've got a good plan. When he gets up in the morning, as soon as he gets up, the phone's going to ring. He's going to get on the phone, and then he's going to get behind on his schedule. And as soon as he goes to work, then he didn't have time to study or pray too much before he left. And then afterward, he's going shopping, or he's going to a ball game, and he can go to the game for 2 or 3 hours, but he comes home, it's time to go to bed. He did not have time to study. That sounds like a gross exaggeration, but folks, that's how it works. These statistics should cause us to see not just where we are physically, but where are we spiritually. Satan does not mind us being a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. He just doesn't want us to have a relationship with God. And that's just a free advertisement, folks, but it ties into what I'm showing you here. You've got to look at your schedule, and I hope that before we leave our room or before we leave our house in the morning, we at least take a few moments I've just, different level, I guess. God, don't leave me for a second today. Stay with me every second. Guide me each step, whoever you want me to talk to today. And by the way, you do that, you might be interesting to see how things develop. But you've got to work it out on a schedule. So that's why I'm asking you to look at that at the back and do it on your own later and figure out, okay, I need at least 10 or 15 minutes a day on exercise and, whatever on spiritual, okay? All right. This is all I can say. I'm going to ask a question. How many of you will at least think about getting a regular aerobic program, just walking or whatever, crawling, I don't care what you do, something besides sitting, okay? All right, any questions? Okay. The next thing we're going to do, if we go forward on our slides, and I can't see at all what's up there, so
it says
arterial.
It says arterial health.
Yeah, go ahead forward on some of this.
Arterial health, exercise.
I'm going to come to right here.
Exercise.
Okay. The next thing I'm going to talk about, folks, is the muscles in our body, okay? Our body's covered in muscles for a reason. God's made our body so we can move, all right? And so we're going to talk about two factors here. We're going to talk about strengthening your muscles, and then we're going to talk about flexibility, which has to do with your tendons and your ligaments, okay? Now remember, we're talking about heart disease, but this is a factor in your whole body system, okay? Because again, like I said, finely tuned machine. In the glove compartment if you've got a new car, you'll find an owner's manual, okay? And it tells you exactly for that car what the oil, the water, the air pressure of the tires and oil. Folks, I ruined 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 automobiles when I was young in my life by not changing oil regularly. I remember I was teaching and coaching. My dad came by the school one day and he checked me. He said, "Did you know you don't have any oil in your car?" Don't you think I thought that was important? No. I was going to the conference office, and the car, I guess you could say, it froze. It didn't freeze up. It probably melted. No more oil again. I finally got smart, and I had a General Motors car made in America, and I got 350,000 miles out of an American-made car by changing the oil regular. Owner's manual for a reason. Okay? God's owner's manual is the Bible. It lists these things that He will help us with, and He wants to help us with. But it's up to us. We have a choice. And Satan doesn't want us to be healthy. I mean, 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19 and 20 says what? This is the temple of God. It's not even our body. And, we pass that off and that type of thing. All right. Let's go back to the muscles. All right. What I want you to do is stand up right now. Come on. We're going to stand up so we don't go to sleep. Now, we're going to talk about different muscles. First of all, we're going to talk about the muscles in your arm. Biceps. There's two muscles right here in your bicep. Designed by God. Fastened here to your scapula. Goes down here to the bone. And it's designed like a hinge to pick up your arm this way. Okay? Now, is that important? Well, yes. If you ever lift anything besides a piece of paper, then you're going to have a little bit of a muscle. Okay? It's not going to happen. It's not going to grow by thinking about it and reading about it or hear somebody talk about it. There are no shortcuts. Now, what are the principles? What I do, I work with a 25 and a 50-pound dumbbell 3 days a week. Folks, why would you not repeat, if I'm lifting weights today, why would I not do the same thing tomorrow? Anybody want to say? Right, well, the whole point of lifting is you're strengthening the muscles. How are they going to get bigger? You kind of tear it down a little bit if you want to say it that way, and by resting, then it gradually grows back, it gets bigger, but just simply the resting process. So you don't do the same muscles generally. I'm talking about heavier weights. Now, if it's a piece of paper, it's probably not going to make any difference. But anyway, you understand what I'm saying. All right, what's the principle? Well, the principle is this. Okay, we're going to act like we've got maybe a can of beans. I don't care what it is, something that you're not, to get used to your muscles here. And again, you can function in life without it, but as you get older, it's going to get weaker. We all know that. Okay. Now, so pay attention to what we're going to do. We're going to take a deep breath before we lift. All right? Why would we do that? Well, I'm going to use an illustration. Let me see if I can pick on somebody. Would you mind coming up here, sir? I can't see how strong you are, but it's okay. Yeah, you're pretty strong. I got to be careful. Ooh, there's some pretty big muscles here. I'm going to act like he's an automobile, and he's parked right in front of the door out here. Nobody can get in or out, and I'm the only person there to push this car out of the way. Okay? Now, am I going to take a deep breath as I push? Am I going to go? Is that what I'm going to do? No. What am I going to do? I'm going to go. I'm going to exert. I'm going to breathe out. Okay, very good. I'm glad he didn't brace too hard. I'm not going to push him. Anyway, okay. So what we're going to do, fill up your lungs, breathe through your nose, whatever. That's what you've got a nose for. Now, we're going to breathe out as we lift. Breathe in as you go down. Can you hear him? Can you see I'm taking a pretty deep breath? Fill up those lungs. Now, are you taking a deep breath, folks? We are very shallow breathers. What did I say about COVID? Lung problems, pulmonary problems. Our lungs are going to get stronger by exercise, but breathing. You know that. Doctors say you need a breathing exercise or whatever. All right, let's do it again. If you're getting dizzy, hold on to the chair. You can't hold on to the chair. All right, ready? Here we go. Now, I wouldn't do it as fast. I wouldn't try to go like that, okay? That's where you can pull them out, especially if you're not used. You can pull muscles, you can tear tendons, ligaments. You all understand that. Okay. Now, did anybody get dizzy? If we did 10, somebody might say, I'm getting a little bit dizzy, okay? All right, we got other muscles. Triceps, you got 3 on the back of your arm. There's different ways to do this. Believe it or not, we had a guy, I think, in this church about 25 years ago or something that won in his age group the state title for doing triceps. Now, in that test, they do it this way. They simply start here and go back. There's other ways you can do it. You can put a knee in a chair if you want to get balance, and so that you can kind of come back like this and raise it any way you want. I don't care. But let's just do it this way right now. Let's go right here and then just go straight back. But take the breath first. Ready? Okay, now turn and face inside this way if you don't mind, so it won't hit people next to you. Now we're going to talk about your deltoid. This is, no, don't face each other. We're not trying to. Anyway, that's the first time I faced that's the problem. Deltoid, okay? That's these muscles. I hope that you can reach it this way. And we'll start right here, okay? Now remember, you've got a can of beans or 2 pounds or 5 pounds. Don't start with 20 pounds so it's going, and then you call and say, W, it's your fault. I got pull muscles or something. Okay, take our deep breath, and what we're going to do is simply come up to about like this right here, okay? And then go down slowly. Take a deep breath. Deep breath. Okay, see how simple that is? Now, we could do a lot more, but go ahead and sit down, I guess, for right now. I don't want anybody to pass out or anything. Let me say this about your legs. Now, as I said earlier, there's 3 muscles in your thighs, one in the middle, each side. But please notice, you have got to be careful. It is very easy to mess up your knees, and so by trying. I know we used to, and some people still do deep knee bends. I can't say that in this congregation, okay? Because it's just too easy to mess up. An aerobic involves oxygen. Anaerobic means you don't use oxygen too. So you'd be something like this right here, where you would simply bend your knees a little bit, not if it hurts, and then just see how long can you sit there and hold it. Would you mind coming up just a minute, sir? Don't think of anything, but I'm going to ask him to tell you what he feels right here. What does it look like? Can you feel anything there? Tell him what you feel.
Muscles.
Thank you. I think that was a little risky. He wasn't sure about that. But anyway. Okay, so that one is one you can do. Can you hold it for 5 seconds? 10 seconds? And they will strengthen. I mean, that's a safe way to do it. Calves are pretty easy to do. That is simply you can go up on your toes this type of way. Or if you have steps in your house, I have 14 steps in my house to go up. And there's been days that I've gone over 20 times. Imagine if it's 10 times, that's 144 steps. There's things like that that'll naturally help you. Okay, for the sake of time, how many of you will think about a regular strength training program? Just think about it. That's all I'm asking. How many of you think about it? I don't see too many hands really high. It's like, I'll think a little bit. Okay. You might can encourage each other. I was in a church a few years ago, and I was sitting on the rostrum. The guy over on the other side came over and he said, "You may not remember, we did a health program." He said, "I wanted you to know that I started doing these things." And he said, "I lost like 25, 30, 40 pounds and all these kind of things." It will happen, but it takes time, folks. It takes time. Just go slow, and usually on the walking, I didn't go back into that, but the walking, usually after about 3-4 weeks, you could gradually increase that, 10 to 20 on your breathing, maybe to 30 or even 40. Because remember what I told you, your breathing will tell you. So if you're getting in pretty good shape, you may not even, you may go faster. By the way, you can go faster or farther, either way, okay? All right, any questions? Okay, let's go to the next section. Okay, this shows some of the muscles, and I think if we can go to the next slide. Okay, well, I want to see this one right now. I should have shown it a minute ago. Harvard Medical School has done some of the, probably more research than just about anybody out there. I don't know why Loma Linda hasn't done a lot in some of these areas, but the And this right here, inside this is a picture of a nucleus, of a cell, okay? We've got millions of, 350, who knows, 100 million cells. Everything's cells, You see it in the onion cell under a microscope when you were a kid. There's the nucleus and the mitochondria in there. Their research showed, essentially back to the aerobic exercise, that if a person walks, again, 30 minutes a day, that it will increase the oxygen level in the mitochondria almost by double over a period of time. In other words, that's why you are out of breath. You're not getting the oxygen very fast in your lungs. The stronger your lungs get, the stronger your body is, making it all of it easier, then eventually, that's why in my case, my resting pulse rate used to be 73. Today it's between 52 and 60. That's a huge rate difference. It'd be like if my heart could speak, it would say, E.W., thank you, because I'm getting to rest 15 extra beats every minute. That's a lot over a lifetime, folks. And it's critical. Hey, I'm 82, and I may not live past today, but I know I feel good today. And that's all we can do, folks. Do better every day and ask the Lord to help us. It's His body. He wants us to be that way. So help us get a schedule, okay? All right, the next, and by the way, I'll come back to this later. By the way, with women, this is even more significant. Again, it will help you almost triple strengthening your heart. The oxygen in the mitochondria. It was triple the other way earlier on that test, and here we're seeing it triple to help you in these programs. All right, let's go forward. I think we may have missed it, so don't worry about the picture. I wanted to go next to, can you back up one? Yeah, right there. One of those. What does it say? Is it say anything? Yeah, well, we've already had that. Okay. What we're talking now, folks, is flexibility, okay? What's flexibility? Well, your tendons are fasten your muscles to bones or muscles to muscles. You've got ligaments that God has made to be a factor. And so we're talking now, the old term was stretching for flexibility, okay? Now I want to ask a question. Do you do your heaviest stretching before you exercise or afterwards? How many think it's before you exercise? How many think it's after you exercise? Okay, it looks like it's about a 50-50 guess there. I'm actually impressed. If you put a rubber band in a freezer, and pull it out the next morning, and pull on it, what's going to happen? It's going to snap. So if you sleep in the freezer tonight and jump up in the morning to start stretching, you're going to pull muscles or whatever. That's a gross exaggeration, but yes, your heaviest stretching is afterwards. Why? Because your body is created to move on heat. Flexibility, heat, that's why you do move and before you start doing a lot of heavy stuff. It's just that we know that. It operates off of heat. Now, it's okay if you want to do a little bit of stretching before, fine. And I've seen people that have been walking all day and now they're at the track and now they're stretching. That's okay, but I think they've already got the heat built up probably, and it would be best to do it at the end. That's what I do. When I get up through with my weightlifting, sit-ups, push-ups, that's when I do stretching. So let's stand up. You've got, and by the way, on the right-hand side, again, there's a sheet showing different kinds of exercises. I only showed you one or two today, okay? The exercises. And there's a sheet showing the flexibility, okay? But we know some of them. For instance, if you're going to stretch the back of your legs, we would read stretching this way right here. Now, folks, it's not up and down. You want to hold it. You want to hold it. That's what we mean by stretching, okay? So you would hold it. Don't try to be a hero and put your hands flat on the floor unless that you're really flexible enough to do that, okay? Don't hit your head on the chair there, but if you can bend over, you don't have to bend over too much. You got a dress on or whatever. Okay. Another one we can do is I do this every morning, is stretch. Now I'm stretching the opposite side is what you're doing, okay? You're stretching muscles, different muscles in your body, arms, shoulders, legs, same way, and hold it usually for a count of about 5 or 10. Atta girl, you're doing a good job. And now there's others you can do, and if you don't want to hit anybody, you can turn this way, turn slowly. Now here you got to be careful with your knees. If you've had knee problems, you could hurt your knees a little bit. but you're really trying to stretch both your legs and the top of your body, you know, either way. But again, hold, don't just go back and forth, okay? Now, even though I told you I'm blind, I still can play golf. Not very often. I've only played maybe 4 times all year. But a few years ago, we were playing at the Southern Union tournament. I want you to know we do go to meetings, that they also had a tournament called the. And I was playing with Gary, the president, you know, 3 guys. And so it was the last hole, and they were talking. I said, I don't believe anybody's out there. I'm just going to hit. And I hit, and Gary says, I think you just hit somebody. And it hit the guy right there. It could have been severe. And you're supposed to yell. He says, why didn't you yell for? I didn't know anybody was out here. It cut his shoulder. It would have been bad. Next year, we're playing in the Dave Crest Memorial Golf Tournament at Southern. And this guy walked up and says, you know who I am? And I said, no, who are you? He said, I'm the guy that you hit in Florida. I want to make sure I'm not in front of you today. Now, I tell you that because you might come up with creative ways to stretch. In my case, I may act like I'm actually swinging a golf club, and you can see my left leg bent in. You know, all kind of factors here. And if you're just create something. I don't care what you do. Okay. All right. You can go ahead and sit down. How many of you will think about stretching as part of your routine? That's all I can ask you to do. Okay. Now, what time is it now? I don't know whether you're going to watch. Huh? So have we been going an hour? Did we? Yeah, then we're going to have to stop. Okay. Let me see if there's anything I want to say on that before we take a break. Now, who's in charge here? Somebody's in charge besides me. How much time do we need on the break? 10, 15 minutes? Or are you doing music?
What we're going to do now is have a little break, a little music, a little commercial. Have a little after couple songs.
I want to give them, how long will it take them the songs? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Why don't we take at least 5 minutes, let them get up and walk outside here, get some walk around just about 5 minutes or so. Because the worst thing we do is come in here and talk about exercise. We sit all afternoon. So you want to go over your music first? Is it what you just said?
Why don't you?
Okay, please, everybody, let's get up.
When you hear the music, come on back.
Yeah, let's get in and walk out. Now, if you can, go out and walk around just a minute, okay? Okay, let's be seated, folks, so we can enjoy the music. Sorry to rush you, but we're trying to stay on a pretty tight schedule this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, so we have
And let's all sing this together with the first verse. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now
Mike's not on. Mike's not on.
You are the salt of this old earth. Never let your savor slip away. Never let your usefulness decay. O children of the Lord, you are the light of this old world. Never let your flame grow dim, and you can point the sinful world to Him and glorify the Father. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. Everything you need will be given unto you. Be not anxious for tomorrow. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. He said, to live you've got to die, and to lay your treasures in the sky. So love your enemies until you die. O children of the Lord. He said, to win you've got to lose. Give to others, self you must not choose. Perfect in your love and charity, and do the will of the Father. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. Everything you need will be given unto you. Be not anxious for tomorrow. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. Seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord.
Very good. Beautiful. Thank y'all. We need to go forward to nutrition now. Okay, we're going to go to nutrition now. Under nutrition, we will focus also on heart disease and type 2 diabetes. We're going to start off, go ahead to the next slide, beginning with carbohydrates and
The five basic compounds. The five basic compounds of food are carbohydrates, proteins, fats,
oh, I'm
vitamins.
sorry, go ahead. Okay, 5 basic food groups. Questions, let's see, go to the next picture.
Carbohydrates, sources. Carbohydrates.
Yeah, the carbohydrates are made of 3 elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It's plant foods. And when we talk about type 2 diabetes, we're aware of the way that plant foods are digested. We talk about, I don't know what the picture says because I think she's,
Yes.
Just read what is up there.
Sources of starch, sugars, and fiber. Starches and sugars are converted to glucose, which is the body's main fuel.
Okay, I was just getting ready to say that. Starches, sugars, and fiber. Now, it's converted to glucose, and in a few moments when we switch over and talk about protein and fats, that'll be another factor. But right now we understand that when the conversion takes place here with plant foods, normally the sugar level is what we call at 70, okay? If your rate goes to 100 over a regular period of time, it could be regarded by the doctor as having pre-diabetes. If it's over 130, then you are. Of course, they can also use the A1C scores, but generally this is what we use. But what I want to start with is fiber, and there's going to be a reason for it. If you look in your folder, now this time we're on the left side. Earlier we were on the right side, and look under the sheet I showed you before, and you'll see this right here. It looks like some plant foods at the top, okay? Because a lot of times in diabetes we think that sugar is the big problem. It is a factor because your pancreas makes the insulin that has to break the sugar down. However, fiber is necessary in this, and I'll show you why in a moment. Also, and somebody was talking to me earlier, I think we probably know, most of us know this and understand it, subcutaneous fat. That's the fat we do not see. Now, fat we usually think about as what we can pinch up on our, on our side or whatever. But subcutaneous fat, you can't see it, but it's the fat that may clog up the organs. That's the one that's actually even more serious from the standpoint of the diabetic problem. What I want to show you how easy it is, folks, to get the proper nutrition that we need. That's why I'm going to start with fiber, because we only need 20 to 35 grams of fiber. Now, a gram is equal to like 4 teaspoons. If you want to think about teaspoons, but for adults, I think we can understand probably grams a little bit. So we only need 20 to 35 grams. That's not a lot. I'm going to show you why. So look at your sheet, and under fruit, I want you just to find some fruit that's there, maybe the highest amount of fiber, whatever fruit you see there.
Apple.
What?
One medium. Oh, blackberries.
Blackberries. What's the score for blackberries?
7.6.
If you had 1 cup of blackberries this morning, what did you have? 7.6?
7.6.
Okay, so let's just show you, act like you're writing that down, okay? Now find another fruit that you might like, anything you like. Don't choose something you would not eat.
Blueberries.
Okay, what's another high one?
Blueberries.
Blueberries. Now blueberries also, folks, is another factor because it's the number 1 at fighting germs. Strawberries are number 2. And I can tell you, I had blueberries this morning at 5 or 6 o'clock or something every morning. I try to have a cup of handful or whatever of blueberries. But anyway, what's the score on blueberries?
4.
4. Okay, so 7.6 and 4. We're up to 11.6 already. Now, the amount is based on body size and weight, obviously. Again, if I weigh 200, you weigh 100, you're going to need a different amount. These are average figures that they've got here, understand? But this has been based on a lot of research. Okay, so give me one more fruit.
Prunes.
What did they say?
Prunes.
If you eat prunes, I'm just joking. What's the score on prunes?
6.
What?
6.
Wow, now we're up to 17. We're almost to where you need, between 20 and 35. But if we're a little bit bigger in size, we're going to need more than 20. So let's go to vegetables now. It may be on the back side or somewhere there, I think. Vegetables.
Potato.
Okay, what did you choose?
A potato.
A potato. What's the score?
5.
5. So now we're up to 22.5 or something. See how quickly, folks, just getting, what's another 1 or 2? What about broccoli or something else? What? I can't hear you.
Broccoli.
Well, we said potato. What was the sweet potato?
3.
Well, we already said potato. Let's choose something else. Anybody? What did he say? What's the score?
1 what? Oh, it's half a cup of broccoli is 2.3.
Okay. Okay, so that gets us up to 23, 24. You can see what I'm talking about, folks. Here's the point on nutrition, okay? Make sure we understand this. Carbohydrates are the source of energy that God has created for our body. He made it in the Garden of Eden. Plant-based foods. Plants are the energy source. Now, there's a lot of misnomer out there in the world. Sometimes people have a lot of information that's wrong information. Now, I don't know. I have a son that's, he won like 98th percentile on the physical fitness test when he was at Collegedale Academy, but he did have trouble with flexibility. He was able to get it. But my point is, today, he's 46 years old, and he's not as flexible as he was. He's gained a lot of muscles. And he says, my coach says I need 200 grams of protein. Well, I'm going to show you in a few minutes we'll get the protein. The body doesn't even store excess protein. We'll talk about that. But, folks, we know the principles. We have been blessed with the spirit of prophecy. I'm fully aware that Joseph Kidder's study showed 57%. Seventh-day Adventists do not ever read anything in the spirit of prophecy. I'm not going to get into that discussion. But to me, we have no excuse, folks, to understand some of these principles, okay? So on the carbohydrates, then what we're going to do is, you understand now, it's necessary to have fiber in your diet. If you eat nothing but animal products, where's the fiber? There is no fiber in most animal products. Very little. There might be a little bit in certain types of meat, but I certainly haven't seen the scores showing that that's what you want. Now, so what we're going to do, remember we're talking about type 2 diabetes, so we're talking about fiber, but let's also look at the sugar thing. So go back to, let's go to the screen now. And just go forward. Right there. One more.
Glycemic
One more.
index.
Okay, what we're going to
Greens.
do is look at 6 different types of food, and then I'm going to show you some other types of foods on some modules I've got here, okay? This first category is what?
Grains.
Grains, okay. I want you to look at the top left hand and then the bottom right hand. First one at the top left, what does it say up there that you would eat?
Pasta.
Pasta. Folks, this doesn't matter what shape it is, circular, square, whatever. Pasta is pasta in different forms. Now, they may add cheese and some other things. I'm talking about the pasta. If you ate just 1 cup of pasta, it will raise your sugar level to what does it say?
64.
64?
Yes.
64. Okay, that's not bad. However, what man is going to eat 1 cup of pasta? Come on. You go eat somewhere, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 cups. It's going to be a big plate full. I mean, I'm not blind. I think I saw somebody shake their head. Okay, now let's go to the bottom right-hand side. What does it show?
French bread.
What goes with pasta?
French
bread. Now, this is 1 slice, and it raises your sugar level to what?
136.
What one?
136.
136. Now, if your blood sugar level stays at 136 over a period of time, you're either going to be on taking a little bit of insulin or some kind of medicine because you are now regarded as a diabetic. Well, just the fact that you ate that meal doesn't make you diabetic. Your pancreas is going to make the insulin and bring it back down, whatever. But what guy's going to eat just 1 slice of French bread? Are you serious? I mean, I think it'd be 2 or 3. So you can see how quickly this can start doubling and tripling. So, okay. So, at lunch you had pasta and French bread. Okay. Now, do you see anything else in there that you might have, like potatoes or rice? What?
Basmati rice.
What?
Basmati
No,
rice.
I don't want a name. What's the
Okay.
one on the right side? The right side.
Oh, white rice.
White rice, and what is the score?
126.
White rice is a stable food. I've held evangelism meetings in India. I've been in the Philippines. I've been in Nicaragua. I've been in a lot of these different places. And white rice was the staple food. And it is the cheapest, but it's certainly not the best for you because the score is what, 126?
Yes.
Look on the left side at brown rice. What's the score?
79.
So there is a variance in food, okay? We understand. And people that are selling don't care. They just want to make some money, and so whatever, okay? So again, the amount that you're eating is a factor too. It's easy to, you go in some of these restaurants and they just pile a bunch of rice on there or whatever, okay? All right, let's go to the next type of food. We're just going to look at, this is in your folder. You can look at other things you want to. What's the next column, category?
Cereals.
What?
Cereals.
Cereal. Okay, cereal. Folks, I would ask you, if you haven't done this, to go down the aisle of any big grocery store, and I'm telling you that the aisle is unbelievable. It'd be almost from here to the highway, not quite that far. Nothing but cereal. Yeah. And look at the ingredients. You will not see hardly any variance. I don't care if it's Wheaties, whatever else, and all these names. It's unbelievable how many things they've come up with. I guess because I'm aware of all this stuff, I just look at it. I don't know. To give you a little idea, research has been done regarding children and sugar. And if a child is under 6 years of age, 4 or 5, they should have no more than 4 teaspoons instead of grams, 4 teaspoons of sugar. Well, I remember when one of my granddaughters was about 5 years old, and she was riding in the car, and I said, Aaliyah, do you know what a teaspoon looks like in your house? You know a spoon? Yeah, I know what a spoon is. Okay, in a whole day, if you dipped up 4 things of sugar, that would be all you should have in a whole day. Well, okay, what does that matter? Well, a little bit later, one day she's in a car, and she's drinking some kind of fruit juice box. I said, Aaliyah, how much sugar's in that? She says, it says 4 grams. 4 teaspoons. I said, that's all I can have in a whole day. If a 5-year-old can figure it out, certainly can parents. I often catch my ride. My wife can't, since I don't drive, I have to catch 1 or 2 people or 3 going to the office. And there's a service station there. And I've seen this happen, I don't know how many times. Person drives in, about 4 kids get out, they go in, they come back out, and they've got boxes of fruit juice. And they're going to school wherever. People don't understand, folks. To handle fruit, sugar is fructose. In order to break fructose down, there has to be fiber. You eat an apple, it's got fiber in it. Any fruit, eat it. It's got the fiber. You squeeze it out and make apple juice, now there is no fiber. And unfortunately, people don't know that. So they're giving their kids all this stuff. And believe it or not, now that granddaughter's 14. And if we go to a restaurant or something, invariably, they'll say, what do you want? She says, water. My whole family says I've ruined her as far as soft drinks are concerned. She's never forgotten that. You can, y'all understand what I'm saying? This is important, especially if you've got children, grandchildren, or whatever. Most people don't know it. You've got to have fiber to break down the fat, fructose that's there. Okay, we'll get to that. I got ahead of myself because that's the next thing up, I think. But anyway, the one cereal over here on the bottom, what do you got on the bottom? Are we still on cereal?
She's on fruits. 1 hour back. Now Rice Chex.
Rice Chex. Yeah, let's go with Rice Chex. What's the score on that?
127.
That's pretty well close to about all the other cereals are there. And nothing wrong with it, probably. But if that's all you're getting, are you following me? If that's all the child's getting, then you understand, or even an adult, eat 2 bowls of cereal and go to work. Well, what else are you getting? Let's go to the next one. This is the fruit. I got ahead of myself a moment ago.
Fruits.
The fruit, look at the cherries up on the left-hand side. What is a cup of cherries will get your sugar level to what?
32.
32. Now look at the high one, which is watermelon. 1 slice of watermelon raises your sugar level to?
103.
Who would have thunk that? And yet what man's going to eat 1 slice of watermelon? I hate to pick on men, but I know how I am. I try to eat right, but boy, I sure could be a foodaholic, I guess. 1 slice? Oh, come on. But anyway, you can see a big difference in the cherries in that. So again, think about what you're eating. There are differences, and especially if there's other people in your family that need help. Folks, remember, as Seventh-day Adventists, we have been very strongly in believing what we call the health message. Is that correct or not? And now, do we believe it, or do we practice it, or is it just knowledge? Again, folks, we can change habits. I will tell you how I've changed habits in some of these things in a few minutes, okay? All right, let's go to the next one quickly. Legumes, okay? The high one, what's up at the left? Nuts?
Peanuts. Peanuts.
Okay. I will tell you that I used to weigh 200 pounds probably the last time I was here, probably 210 or something. But I decided to go, and I went on using a variety of nuts in the morning. Believe it or not, I've come all the way down to about 155, 160 pounds. There's a lot of variety out there. I'm not trying to advertise nuts only because there's a lot of other things. What's over on the right-hand side that would be there?
Parsnips.
Let's not use parsnips. The average person probably wouldn't eat that. So
that's right.
What?
A baked potato.
Oh, a baked potato. What's the score?
121.
It's like the white rice, 121. Look on the left side at a sweet potato. What's the score?
77.
All right, just like the rice, there's a big difference. So again, this is to show us, folks, we as adults, we should be educated. And I believe as Seventh-day Adventists, or even if we're not Seventh-day Adventists, I think that we all want to know what's best for us. And again, it goes back to habits. We are creatures of habit. You know that. We're going to eat the same thing we ate yesterday, and on and on. All right, let's go to the next thing real quick.
Sugars.
What?
Sugars.
Okay, this just shows the different kinds of sugar. We already talked about you understand the white sugar and the different kinds of sugars there, okay? All right, very quickly, and remember, I'm trying to do today in what normally is a longer time. They're going to help me read a little bit here to give you a little idea of these things. I think I want to use this one. Okay. One of them's going to hold it, and the other's going to tell you what it says. All right, let's look at this first thing right here. This is strawberries, okay? And can you read what it says about?
Sure.
We're going to compare strawberries to one chocolate chip, I think.
1 chocolate peanut candy equals 9 strawberries.
Okay, so if you're thinking about sugar intake and all these things, strawberries, did you say 9?
9.
Compared to 1 chocolate chip. So if you ate 10 or 20 chocolate chips, you could have 90 strawberries. It was 10 times. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Look at the grapes over here compared to what?
5 pounds of grapes
5 pounds of grapes
equals 1 chocolate chip.
1 chocolate chip.
Wow.
Which would be better for you from a health
grapes.
standpoint?
1 chocolate.
Obviously. But see, again, most Americans don't look at it that way. I want this, I want that, this is good, I love chocolate chips. I can't worry about health today. Well, one day it might matter. There's plenty of others on here. I don't know if some of them will get your attention. I don't have time to read them all. Maybe, what is this one right here, one of these?
A dab of mayo equals 2 grams of fat. 1 tablespoon equals 11 grams of fat. Mustard, no grams of fat.
Okay. That's the difference. You can see the difference. There's plenty of other things there. Let me look at this other chart real quick, see if there's anything on there.
This is fat.
Oh, we don't want to get, yeah, my fault.
Right. Not yet.
Okay, all right. One thing, can we go forward to, I want to see if there's another picture before, I didn't see it. So let's just go, I'll just tell you about it. Earlier we saw a picture, I said at Harvard Medical School, remember I said that they did research? They've also done research in regard to diabetes. And that if you if you go walk 20 to 30 minutes after a meal, their research showed it'll bring the sugar level back down to where it was or even below before you ate. So that's a huge factor, okay, in this. Exercise is important to keep a healthy immune system. Remember, the immune system is designed to fight germs, bacteria, and viruses, okay? We understand that. So the pancreas is a factor. And so generally good health and the way we eat, the way we exercise are all going to be factors, okay? All right, now we're going to switch to heart disease nutrition, okay? We've already talked about exercise. This is a picture of your heart. Your heart's about the size of your fist. All right, let's go to the next picture. And if you would you mind reading to us what it says on the right side?
The opening of a normal artery should be about 4 times the thickness of the artery wall.
Yeah, you probably can't see this, but it's basically, that's what it's showing here, that if this was an artery, it would be 4 times the size of the wall itself, okay? Now remember, we're talking here about heart disease, the #1 killer, okay? Let's go to the next picture. Okay, go ahead and read.
There are usually no signs of disease until 90 to 95% of the artery is plugged.
You may not know it till it's 90 to 95% clogged. That's why most people die with the first heart attack. No idea. Now, I can only suggest this. Folks, this is why I believe that we should have physical examinations at least every 2 years, but I really believe it ought to be every year. Because it amazes me as I travel around and people tell me, oh, I haven't been tested most of my life, and they're 40, 50, 60 years old. And think about all these. I just have a close friend right now that has found out that he has cancer. And some of these things you can do something about if you catch it quick enough. My mother died with colon cancer. She was a nurse, and this was a number of years ago, and they didn't always, she apparently had not had a regular test, and it became a big surprise. It was really bad by the time they found it. I can only say that's a free advertisement, folks. All right. Wait, before you go on. This is like your clear artery. The red you see moving is carrying carrying oxygen. Those are red blood cells. That's what keeps us alive. God's designed it that way. What's happened over here? Well, listen to that. What is your name?
Eliza.
What?
Eliza.
Liza? How old are you?
7.
Well, I need to take an interview with her. Ladies and gentlemen, this little girl said that's, what'd you say it was?
Lugged.
Yeah, she said it right the first time. Folks, now again, watch it. You can see it's moving. Where does this come from, folks? We've got to realize this. This does not come from plant foods. We're talking about cholesterol and fat. And in a few minutes, we're going to look at a video, so I'm not going to say a lot about this. But cholesterol, this is important, folks. God has made our bodies and all animals to make its own cholesterol. What did I say? It makes the cellular walls all in your body strong. That's how God designed it. 350 million, who knows how many cells. Every part of your body is made up of cells, and it makes its own cholesterol. So does every animal. So I'm going to use a gross exaggeration. So if there's a hawk flying around out here and I eat the hawk, well, guess what? His body makes its own cholesterol. But he had just eaten a snake out there in the highway, and the snake makes its own, and the snake had just eaten a rat, and it makes its own. I said a gross exaggeration. But, folks, every animal that we eat, you're getting the added cholesterol. I don't care what the people tell you. It's a scientific fact. And so, your body's made to make its own. It's not designed to take a bunch of other animal cholesterol in there. Now, most doctors, and I know there's doctors in this building, but most doctors will tell you, get it under 200, and that's fine. How many of us have heard something like that before? If not, that's generally what people say. The Framingham Heart Study, who did the largest study ever done for heart, did not find one single heart attack if total cholesterol was under 150. I'm going to use myself as an example. I was, born and raised as a Seventh-day Adventist, and I loved meat, and I went to public high school, and I loved all kind of meat. And but when I was in the 11th grade, I decided I was going to quit eating meat. And that was hard. I'd eaten 9 hot dogs one time. I wanted to eat 20 crystals, but didn't have the money to buy them, even though they were only a nickel back then. But anyway, so I decided to quit. Okay. Through the years, I kept eating all the way through college up until about 20 years ago. My cholesterol stayed over 200, 210. Research now shows that for every 10 over 200 doubles your chance for a heart attack. You can read research and things like these. By the way, the magazine I brought today on that from the ABC, that was exercise, is this one right here. Okay? Now, so about 20 years ago, I decided, hey, I had to do something about this cholesterol level. I thought being a vegetarian was enough. Folks, any animal product, one egg has 200 milligrams of cholesterol, unless it's a little bitty tiny duck egg or whatever. A regular chicken egg, 200 milligrams. It's no problem to eat 2 fried eggs, but that's 400 milligrams of cholesterol. Milk, cheese, those are animal products. And in every case, God has made those animals with its own cholesterol. That's what you're getting now, is some of their cholesterol. I'm going to show it in a minute on the video. So I decided to switch, so guess what? My cholesterol came down, under 150. Lately, I noticed it was up a little bit. And I thought, wait a minute here. I must be eating something that's got cholesterol in it. I mean, an egg in it or something. So, folks, I'm just telling you, you can take this serious if you want to, but it's very interesting that even in the sports world now, we have some famous people. The Atlanta Braves baseball team has a guy who last year, before he got hurt, was throwing the ball like 103 miles an hour, and he had become vegan. He was trying to not, and you're seeing a few of these, more and more of these people, because I can tell you what it is out there in that sports world. You've got people coaching who have no idea about science. When I was young, and I started coaching in public school, back in the 1960s, I guess it was. Back then, you didn't even want the kids to drink much water. You're training out there in August, and it's 100 degrees. Oh no, you don't drink too much water. Well, now we realize that stuff's crazy. We've got today, because of money, we've got kids that are weightlifting now when their body is not even fully grown and the growth cells. And so we're seeing all these injuries now in the sports world that used to not happen. I believe it goes back to these young kids. When I was in high school, back then, they said, in junior high, you don't lift weights right now. Well, today we've got kids trying to be bigger and bigger so they can become, you see what I'm saying? So, all right. So, the cholesterol level is one thing. Fat is the other. Let's go forward to the next picture. Go ahead with this one. We didn't read this one.
This artery is 99% plugged with buildup of cholesterol and plaque.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next picture and see if it says anything about it. Yeah, there's the one from Harvard. I thought we had it, but I've already said something about it, so we'll go on to the next picture. Does this say protein? Protein. How much protein do we need to eat? First of all, the protein forms the hard parts of our body. Go ahead and read what's at the bottom.
At the bottom?
Not at the bottom?
No.
Okay, I think this one says amino acids, and that we need about 45 to 54 grams of protein a day. Let's go to the next slide. I think one of these shows, yeah, why we need protein.
Okay, it says the average American eats the bottom part or the whole thing. A person needs approximately 1/3 of their body weight in grams of protein each day. A 150-pound person needs 54 grams of fiber each day. The average American eats approximately 150 grams.
This, folks, is critical. 45 to even 30 to 54 grams, depending on the body size. We're going to see on the video in a few moments, I don't know if we'll get to all of it or not, but the body doesn't store excess protein. It goes out in urination, and even if you take extra pills, we're finding out that by losing this, you're also losing important elements to strengthen your bones. And but anyway, I want to go ahead forward now to fats. Yeah, that should be it. There's two kinds of fats. Saturated fats is mainly there are mainly animal fats in the American diet, but there are plant foods that have the saturated fats. We only need 15 grams of saturated fats a day. Unsaturated, again, we just said same way as protein. 30 to 54 grams apparently, 56, whatever it says. But the point is, in the American diet, we are getting 5 times in one day what we should have. It's like what you need for a whole week in one day. You're going to see that in just a few moments. Before we do it, let's just give you a little example right here. Don't mind. This one is a hamburger. This is an average size hamburger, okay? And how many grams of fat are in there?
15 grams.
15 grams. Now, remember, we just said 30 to 54 grams, depending on the body size, of fat. But remember, we said the same thing about protein. So what if you're getting all the protein and fat? You can double that score quickly. Now, what goes with hamburger? French fries. This is an average size of French fries, not the largest.
25 grams.
How many?
25.
25. 15 in the hamburger, 25 here. That totals 40. In one meal, one hamburger and one set of French fries, is all that the average sized person needs. Okay, remember I said the body doesn't store excess protein. Now it does store excess fat. Okay, all right, let's see, what is this one right here?
Chicken nuggets,
Chicken nuggets.
20 grams,
How many of them are there?
6 pieces,
6 pieces. How much?
20 grams.
20. So we've already have 40. Now we're going to have chicken nuggets at lunch. Now it's up to 60. Okay, well, for a little something that's fun, why don't we just get a bag of potato chips?
11 grams.
11 grams in a little snack of potato chips. So let's see. Now we've gone from 40 to what did we go to? 50? 60? Mm-hmm. Now we're up to 70. Woo! Woo! What about pizza? Now we're talking about cheese. Now you're really throwing stuff at me. Okay.
17 grams.
17 grams in one slice. What man is going to eat one slice of pizza? You know good and well you're going to eat the whole thing. If it's that. I mean, are you following me? How many was it?
17 per slice.
Okay, now we're up to 87. And now if we eat double or triple that, well over 100. Folks, I can just tell you, what's this right here?
Ranch dressing.
Ranch dressing. We already saw that a moment ago, didn't we? What does it say?
2 tablespoons have 16 grams.
2 tablespoons of ranch dressing. 16 grams?
Yes.
Folks, I'm just telling you, do you see how quickly it adds up? Do you see why, folks, that heart attacks is our #1 killer? Now, there's a lot of factors. Stress is a factor. Heredity is a factor. But we cannot deny these things right here that we're talking about, okay? So in just a moment, I'm going to let us go over to watch this video. What time is it? This time right here now. It's what? 4:20. Wait a minute, I've got both people talking. No, I know I can, but what time is it?
4:23.
4:23.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll be through. Okay, well, this video is about 30 minutes. That would give you time to sing 1 or 2 songs, and then so listen. Okay, I want us to see, because there's some good points in there about cancer and animal products as well as the others. So here's why I show this. It's on the internet. You can watch it. It's called A Diet for All Reasons. It's an old video. I've been showing it for years. I know there's other videos out there, but I love this partly for this reason. This is not coming from, and don't take this wrong, okay? But a lot of people say, well, you're showing it because that's what Adventists say. You know, whatever. This guy, I don't even know if he's a Christian, but he's coming from a scientific principle. Are you following me? Scientific principle. Now, obviously, spiritual part of it should be a factor in it. That's why God said there were some foods that were unclean and some that were. That meant the unclean were definitely bad for the body, because you're getting animal products that eat other animals. You understand that? Hello? The reason foods that were unclean was because they ate other animals. The clean foods God permitted were animals that ate vegetables, cows, this type of thing. Do you understand that? So let's watch, and you'll see some good points. One thing he will mention at a certain point, a day's worth of fat, and somewhere here I got a little bowl. I said it so I could find it. Now I can't see it. You see a little. Well, I thought I could pick it right up, and I did. I'm going to go ahead and pass this around. This represents a day's worth of fat in the American diet. Red represents the blood. That at the top should be nice and clear. You can see it isn't clear. It's very cloudy, because this came from animal products, theoretically, okay? So I'm going to let one pass it around, even though he's not starting out on this. Maybe you can just get a little idea. Do you mind handing that to them? I don't know if you want to turn the lights off, because I think he's ready to start. Dim the lights, somebody. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Interest is patient in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. And one of Thomas's brighter ideas And when I saw this quote in medical school, I just passed it right on by. I went to the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago, and I was so into becoming a real doctor, and real doctors do real doctor things. They deliver babies, they fix broken arms, they sew up lacerations. That's what real doctors do. And diet was boring stuff. Nutrition, yeah. You send them down to the dietitian, and they figure out a 2,000 calorie diet, and don't bother me. And that's how I practiced medicine for the first 8 or 10 years of my career. Well, I have soon, or I have late, come to realize how important what we eat really is in the creation and prevention of so many of the diseases that we see today. And I'll tell you how I came to those realizations. Now, the North American diet has changed. This is not going to be a technical lecture, but I did want to show you this one graph because there are some very significant lines here. The two top lines, the lavender line and the yellow line, are the amount of plant-based foods that are consumed in the United States and in Canada as well. And this is back in 1909. You can see we were eating a lot of grain products. We were eating almost 300 pounds of wheat and barley and other grain products, and almost 200 pounds of potatoes a year. Look what happened in the intervening 85 years. Our consumption of wheat and grain products have fallen to half of their 1909 level, and our potato consumption has fallen to half of their 1909 level. Look what happened to the amount of flesh foods that we are eating. The amount of milk we consume has more than doubled. Our beef consumption's gone up by 50%, and our chicken consumption's gone up by 280%. We are eating a tremendous amount of animal flesh, and we have essentially exchanged a plant-based diet for a meat-based diet. And the results have been just disastrous for both our health and the environment. Consider how much animal flesh most North Americans eat. In their lifetime, the average meat-eating American is going to eat 15 cows. Going to eat 24 hogs, eat 12 sheep. She will eat 900 chickens and 1,000 pounds of assorted animals that either swam in the water or flew in the air. That is a tremendous amount of animal flesh to be pouring through the human bloodstream year after year. No wonder we wind up with clogged arteries and high blood pressure and cancers and a lot of other diseases, and I'll show you how those two are related. Let's talk about the health effects of an animal-based diet. Here it is, the great American dietary catastrophe in all its glory. I grew up thinking this is good food. What's for lunch, Mom? Oh, I got something good for you, son, she'd say. And she would give me some food like this. And my mother didn't know, and your mother didn't know. They didn't know that the sausages and the eggs and the ham were just loaded with fat and cholesterol. And this is a coronary artery thrombosis waiting for some place to happen. Now, what is the effect on your body when you eat food like this? Well, the effect was brought out very dramatically to me about 10 years ago. I was on the cardiovascular anesthesia service. That's the service that deals with people's hearts and blood vessels. And like all good anesthesia residents, I was making my rounds one evening to see my patients for next morning's surgery. And the last patient I was seeing, I pulled back the curtain, and there was Mr. Phillips. Nice fellow, but he was just huge. He weighed 290 pounds. And he was booked for a 4-vessel coronary artery bypass procedure. He weighed 290 pounds. 290 was also his systolic blood pressure. It was also his cholesterol level. It was also his blood sugar level. I called him Mr. 290. Nice guy, but really clogged up in his arteries. And because it was late at night, it was too late to call the blood drawing technician up to draw his blood test, I drew his preoperative blood work into a glass tube. And I put it out at the nurse's station, and later I came by to pick up the blood tube and take it down to the laboratory. And when I looked at the tube of blood, I couldn't believe my eyes. When you draw blood into a glass tube and let it sit there for an hour, it separates out into two parts, and the red clot settles to the bottom, and the liquid part of the blood, the serum, rises up to the top. Here you see two tubes of blood, and the tube on the left is normal serum, is normal blood. Here you see the dark red clot, and this golden yellow liquid, this is normal serum. This is what your blood is supposed to look like. But I looked at Mr. Phillips' tube, and it was just shocking. The serum floating in his tube was thick and greasy white. It looked like Elmer's glue. It stuck to the sides of the tube when I shook it. I went back into the room. I said, Mr. Phillips, did you eat before you came to the hospital? He said, yes. I said, what did you have? He said, I had a double cheeseburger and a milkshake. And when he said that, I realized what I was looking at was all the fat in the beef burger, and the butter fat, and the cheese, and the butter fat, and the ice cream, and the butter fat, and the milk had oozed out into his blood and turned his blood fatty. It's a well-known clinical phenomenon. It's called lipemia, and it happens every time you eat a fatty meal, you turn your blood fatty, and your blood stays this way for 4 hours until your liver can clear it out of the bloodstream. If you are like most North Americans and eat bacon and eggs for breakfast and a cheeseburger for lunch and fried chicken for dinner and ice cream for dessert, you're keeping your blood fatty all day. The stuff never clears out of the bloodstream. You keep your blood fatty for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. What do you think is going to happen to the arteries carrying all that fat? I will show you what happens to the arteries carrying all that fat in a few minutes, but it's a disaster. There's a lot of fat in the North American diet, and it's hidden in most foods. You can see the fat around a T-bone steak, but most of the fat is in the muscle of the animal, and it's hidden in the dairy products. And most of the folks who present food to us don't want us to think about the fat, especially the fast food industry. They really don't want you to think about how much fat is in their burgers and hot dogs, except one chain of fast food restaurants in Los Angeles. There is one burger chain that is very forthright about the reality of the fat content of their diet, and they come right out and tell you clearly on their marquee about the product that they're selling. Now, if you stood outside the exit door of this restaurant or McDonald's or any other fast food restaurant where people are shoveling in their cheeseburgers, if you stood at the exit door with a needle and a syringe in your hand and drew blood on the people walking out the exit door, what you would see is most of the blood would be as fatty as Mr. Phillips' blood tube. Now, they're all in there making their blood fatty. If you ever have a big cheese pizza and a bowl of ice cream afterwards and you feel a little greasy on the inside, it's because you really are. You really go greasy on the inside. Animal fat comes in 3 flavors in the North American diet. It comes in the form of red meat, and the fat is in the meat. It is in the fibers of the animal's muscle, and just trimming off the white fat around the edge of the steak really does not lower the fat and cholesterol content significantly of the meat. So red meat is the #1 source of fat and cholesterol in the North American diet. The second is the yolk of hen's eggs. The egg of a chicken is meant to hatch baby chicks. And the yolk of the hen's egg is one of the most concentrated globs of fat and cholesterol on the planet. It is made to power that baby chicken for 21 days with no other energy. And when you run egg yolks through your bloodstream, you turn your blood fatty, just like Mr. Phillips. And the third source of fat in the North American diet comes from that white fluid that comes out of the udder of a cow. Now, cow's milk is a high-fat fluid exquisitely designed for turning a 65-pound calf into a 400-pound cow in a year. That is what cow's milk is for. Now, whole milk has a butterfat content of 3%. That's the cream that rises up to the top. And you drink a 3% solution of butterfat, you're going to turn your blood fatty, as will a 2 and 1% solution of butterfat. But at the dairy, the butterfat is skimmed off and they concentrate it into huge vats, half the size of this room. And they concentrate the fat to 50, 60, 80, 90% fat. This stuff is so thick you can walk across it. Why do they do that? Well, they do that so you will buy it and eat it. The butterfat is mixed up with air until it hardens into chunks called butter. The butterfat is mixed with sugar and frozen and sold as ice cream. The butterfat is mixed up with cocoa powder and sugar and sold as milk chocolate. The butterfat is mixed up with bacteria and allowed to ferment until it turns into sour cream. A lower fat version is called yogurt. And the butterfat is mixed up with calf's stomach and bacteria and allowed to ferment for about 6 weeks till it hardens into chunks called cheese. These are all forms of butterfat. The folks at the dairy want you to buy the butterfat and eat it. And when you do, you turn your blood fatty. There's absolutely no reason to run butterfat through your bloodstream at any time, and I'm submitting to you that you'll be a lot healthier and happier if you do not. Cow's milk is for baby calves. You have no more need of cow's milk than you need giraffe milk or horse milk or rat milk. Now back to Mr. Phillips. Nice fella, but I was impressed with all the fat in his bloodstream. We took Mr. Phillips down to the operating room, and I gave him 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl and put him to sleep, and the surgeon opened up his chest and opened up his aorta and opened up his coronary arteries. And what the surgeon started pulling out of Mr. Phillips' arteries were great, long, yellow, greasy, sausage-like formations of fat that looked like this. What you're looking at is a plug of material called atherosclerosis. And this is the plug of fat that built up in a man's arteries. The artery was a tube coming out at you from the screen. The artery wall has been cut away, and you're just looking at the fat that built up. It started around the edge of the blood vessel and started moving in on the blood flow channel as the years went by. And the blood flow channel got smaller and smaller and smaller till only this dark red spot was left for the blood flow to come through. And when a clot formed here, it stopped the blood flow completely through that artery. And because it happened in this man's right coronary artery, it stopped the blood flow to his heart and brought him a ticket to the autopsy table. This is the #1 cause of death of people in North America. Every 30 seconds on this continent, Canada included, somebody grabs their chest and falls over with a heart attack. This is animal fat clogging up the arteries. When you send this material down to the pathologist and you ask him to analyze it, the report always comes back the same: saturated fat and cholesterol. It's animal fat. The pathology report never, ever, ever contains the words remnants of broccoli, rice, and tofu. It's animal fat. The good news is when you stop running animal fat through your bloodstream, this stuff melts away. This stuff will come off the artery walls, and arteries can open up. And Dr. Dean Ornish in California and Dr. John McDougall and a number of other physicians are now routinely reversing atherosclerosis, having people cancel their coronary artery bypass surgery because they changed their diet and their arteries have opened up. That's the good news. Here is the process happening. Here are 6 arteries coming out at you from the screen. The dark red circle is the artery wall. The pink material is the atherosclerotic material clogging the artery. The white spot is the blood flow channel, which is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Any organ dependent upon this blood vessel for its blood flow is in trouble. Fortunately, it's a reversible disease. This atherosclerotic material clogs arteries all over the body. It's just a matter of which artery to which organ clogs up first that gives you the symptoms. If the yellow atherosclerotic fat builds up in an artery going up to the brain, you will suffer a stroke. If it clogs an artery going to your kidney, you'll suffer kidney failure or high blood pressure. If the atherosclerotic material accumulates on the walls of large blood vessels like the aorta that takes blood from the heart down to the abdomen and legs, the artery walls become damaged and weaken. They lose their strength. And the high pressure in the blood vessel causes the artery to balloon out, forming an aneurysm, which can then rupture, leading to emergency surgery or death. If the yellow atherosclerotic material clogs up an artery going to a loop of intestine, the general surgeon will open your abdomen and remove that loop of bowel. If the atherosclerotic material clogs up an artery going to a toe or foot, you will watch that toe or foot turn dark and gangrenous, and you'll sign permission forms for amputation. And if the atherosclerotic material clogs an artery going to the heart, you will suffer crushing chest pain when you walk, called angina pectoris. Or if it clogs the blood flow completely and damages the heart muscle, that is a heart attack. People, this is all the same disease. We are talking about animal fat, essentially clogging up the arteries throughout the body, and it's the #1 cause of death and disability in North America. And this is essentially a disease of people who eat animals and the products made from animals. You almost never see these diseases in pure vegetarians. And William Costelli, the doctor who runs the Framingham Heart Study, says he has never seen a heart attack in anybody with a cholesterol below 150, and there's good reason for that. Why does this happen? Because all fats are not created equal. There's a fundamental difference between animal fats and plant oils. Animal fats contain cholesterol. No plant food contains cholesterol in any significant amount. It is an animal product. And very importantly, animal fats are highly saturated. They've got lots of hydrogen atoms hanging on them, and that makes animal fats very stiff. In fact, animal fats are solid at body temperature. If you're in a kitchen on a summer day and you've got a piece of T-bone steak on the counter and it's 98.6 degrees out, the same as your body temperature, the fat on that beefsteak is solid. It's a nice white chunk sitting there. If you have a bottle of olive oil on the same table at that same temperature, it's liquid at that same body temperature. I don't know about you, but I don't want to eat any fat that is solid at my body temperature because it's going to start clogging up my arteries. And that's the beauty of plant oils. They're liquid at your body temperature. They really don't cling to your arteries. Animal fats contain a substance called arachidonic acid. And arachidonic acid stimulates the creation in the body of a substance called prostaglandin 2. And prostaglandin sets off lots of inflammatory reactions in the body that can irritate the blood vessels, perhaps contributing to atherosclerosis. It may well cause a lot of inflammatory reactions in the joints, the skin, the bronchial membranes, and other places. Plant oils have a substance called linoleic acid, and that gives rise to substances called prostaglandin 1 and 3, and these are natural anti-inflammatories. They soothe inflammation in the body. So people who are on more vegetarian diets have much less problem with inflammatory diseases. Fundamental difference. You have no need to take animal fats into your bodies at all, and I really suggest you meet all your fat needs, and we need about 50 grams of fat a day. Get it from plant oils. You find it in grains have oils, legumes have oils, nuts, seeds. There's lots of oils available in the plant kingdom. That's where you should meet your oil needs, not from the fat of animals. The other thing about fats is make you fat. Animal fats stick to you. When you eat fats of animals, those fats wash through your bloodstream, and as they as they flow through your fat stores under your skin, they stick there. You've got fat cells looking for pre-made fats, and you eat the fat of animals, they stick there. What you see hanging on this man's abdomen really isn't even his fat. That is the fat of all the cows and pigs and chickens and ducks and turkeys and other slow animals that were walking past his table when he had a fork in his hand. Not his fat. The good news is, if he changes his diet and starts eating rice and vegetables and good plant-based foods, this stuff melts away, and people get leaner. It certainly happened to me. Remember the old nursery rhyme of Jack Sprat, who could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean? You always see Jack portrayed as a lean fellow because he ate no animal fats. Mrs. Sprat's always seen sitting down. She has a hard time getting up. Her knees hurt her, her blood pressure goes up, her diabetes gets out of control, so she's usually sitting down. The lesson of Jack Sprat was certainly not lost on me, because back in the operating room in Vancouver, here I was, and now I'm the anesthetist, and I'm standing at the head of the table looking down into the surgical wound, and I'm seeing all this fat in these people's arteries. And I did most of my growing up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. I've been milking cows since I was 6 and driving tractors since I was 8. And not only was Mr. Phillips eating all these animals, but so was Dr. Clapper. And I was eating cheese and chickens and various other slow animals, and I was getting concerned. Not only should my patients not run all that fat through their bloodstream, but this old doc shouldn't either. So I said to myself, if you don't have to run all this fat through your bloodstream, must you? What is the nutrients in meats and dairy products that if you don't eat them, you're going to be deficient of? So I opened up my books on biochemistry and physiology and nutrition, and guess what I found? There is absolutely no nutrient, no protein, no vitamin, no mineral, no nothing found in meats and dairy products that you cannot obtain on plant-based foods. Consider the biggest animals on the planet, elephants and buffaloes and giraffes. These are vegetarian animals. They grow to thousands of pounds of muscle and bone without ever eating cheeseburgers and pepperoni pizzas. We can do the same. We can certainly build our 140 pounds or whatever it is you need to build in your body. The human body has absolutely no nutritional requirements for animal flesh. If you open up Harrison's textbook of internal medicine, you will find no disease listed acute cow flesh deficiency. And there is no chronic chicken flesh deficiency. There is no such disease because we have no need for these substances whatsoever. Animal fats, they clog you up and they make you fat. 2 good reasons not to eat them. Here's a couple of more. It seems to be fairly clear as study after study comes out that if you are eating large amounts of fats in your diet, you are significantly raising your risk for cancer. If you are a woman eating a lot of fat in your diet, and that's talking about the hidden fat in cheeses and meats, etc., you increase your risk of cancer of the breast. Here are some countries that are compared by how much fat is eaten versus how many women die of breast cancer. And you can see that the Americans and the Dutch, with their big dairy industries, lead the way in not only fat consumption, they lead the way in breast cancer deaths. Thailand is a Buddhist country. They eat very little meat and dairy products, and breast cancers are so rare there, if you find a case of it, you report it at grand rounds. This seems to be a disease of diet, of a high-fat diet. If I were a woman with breast and I wanted to decrease my chances of getting breast cancer, I would get the fat out of my diet. And that includes excessive amounts of vegetable oil. You need a little bit of vegetable oil, but you don't want to slather 2 cups of corn oil over your spaghetti for any reason. Men are not spared the ravages of a high-fat diet either, because when a man eats lots of animal fats, those fats are turned into male hormones called androgens. And androgens stimulate the prostate gland to get big. In our society, when a man reaches 60 or 70 and his prostate gland gets big, his doctor puts his arm around the patient and says, well, George, that's just part of getting old, your prostate gland's getting big. No, it's not. That's 70 years of running androgen through that prostate gland. No wonder that gland gets big, and prostate cancer is the #1 killer of men. And if you compare countries of the world versus how much fat is eaten and how much men die of prostate cancer, sorts out just the same way. The more fat that is eaten in a country, the more the men die of prostate cancer. And again, it's a very rare disease in Thailand, where people eat rice and vegetables and traditional foods. So, animal fats. They clog you up, they make you fat, and they increase your risk for a number of types of cancers. There's 3 good reasons not to eat animal fats, and as I said, there's absolutely no reason.
Okay, I hope that this is, gives us some information. One thing, folks, I think we sometimes are very critical of people. It's easy to say, well, you know, you shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that. Everybody is at a different part of the path of life. I use myself as an example. You know, for a certain point, I decided to do it. My family didn't decide to do it. They can do what they want. I can do, you know, whatever I need to do. But I think, folks, I mentioned this just this morning in Sabbath school class. There's a statement in this 6th volume of Spiritual Gifts. I don't remember the page right now, where we're reminded that Satan, as through these years, matter of fact, the very words are, has not been ignorant. He has noticed what works and doesn't work and trying to fool people, lead them astray. And she says that this was in the 1800s. He was tenfold stronger with his deceptions than he was at the time of the apostles. Imagine what it would be today, when little girls or little boys can own a watch, can watch all kind of stuff from the internet or whatever. And it's very interesting because, folks, I'm seeing this today, whether it be politics, whether it be certain things in spiritual things, or even diet. You know, we sometimes can be very critical. Maybe we don't mean to be, but Satan, one thing he likes to do is stir up in every church so that we are kind of, you know, not pulling ideally together. And I know it happens in diet, you know, so let's remember, you know, respect people. Technically, I mean, I don't see anything in the Bible that says you're going to be lost or saved because of what you eat. Now, we know the difference in certain types of food, but the point is, we live in a time when Christ is coming very soon. Do we believe that or not? And so let's try to encourage people. This is information I bring to you, you know, and you have to decide what you want to do with it. There was one last part he talked about, and I had already mentioned it, about the fact that that the body doesn't store excess protein, and I think research backs that up. So in just a moment, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have the closing prayer, and then I'm going to, where's my bowl? We're going to do our little drawing here. Oh, I thought I brought it in with the tickets. What? Oh, yes. What? Yeah.
The drawing
Let's go ahead and have the song now.
Okay.
Because I'd rather have,
Yes.
what I do is have the closing prayer, then let you come up and pick up books and magazines and things that you want. So let's go ahead and have the song, and that'll work out better. Okay?
your grace from your hand fall on us. Lord, let your grace from your hand fall on us, that we may be saved, that we may have light to find our way in the darkest night. Let your grace fall on us. Lord, let your love with no end, come over us. Lord, let your love with no end, come over us, that we may be saved, that we may have light to find our way in the darkest night. Let your light come over us. Let your light shine on
Amen.
Where EW closes out.
Oh, thank you for this beautiful music, for sure. I think I'm still on here. Folks, as a matter of fact, I tried to count earlier, but a blind man counting can't see too far. But this is the largest group I've had, and I just finished 8 straight Sabbaths in churches. And I'm talking about over the last 5 years, this is the largest group that I've had stay. So that says something about your church and organization. So thank yourselves. And folks, again, you know, like I said, none of us are perfect. And we can do better. And whatever you think you need to do better, just take it to the Lord. And whether exercise, diet, or whatever. But again, I repeat, we've got to pull together. We need to be praying for the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. We need to be praying and pulling together for the time we live in, not criticizing people for what they eat or don't do. So I hope that you understand that today. This was educational for us to make a decision. So let's pray, bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you. None of us are here by accident. You have brought us here today. Lord, we thank you for the organization that they have done here today with beautiful music, with the sermon this morning, reminding us, the folks, of all of us, of the need for being spiritually, mentally connected to you. And now this afternoon, we've seen some of these principles we need to be reminded of. It may not be new news, but Lord, bless each person. Whatever we need to do to honor you, we just want to, if we need to make changes or whatever, Lord, just give us the direction and the strength to make those choices. Bless this church as we reach out. We know that the health message is the right arm of the message. So bless this church as we go forward, and that means each individual person. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, what we're going to